Trump teases date for even more important second UK state visit. Donald Trump has said his second state visit to the UK could take place in September. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer handed over an invitation from the King when he visited Washington in February. Buckingham Palace previously only said the visit would happen when diaries allow, but Mr. Trump told reporters on Thursday, "I think they are setting a date for September. I don't know how it can be bigger than the last one. The last one was incredible, but they say the next one will be even more important." Mr. Trump will become the only elected political leader in modern times to be invited to 2 state visits by a British monarch. The president called the UK a great country in his comments at the White House on Thursday and said it was an honor to be a friend of King Charles and the family, William. His first state visit was in 2019, when he was hosted by the late Queen. Second-term U.S. presidents who have already made a state visit usually get tea or lunch with the monarch at Windsor Castle, as was the case for George W. Bush and Barack Obama. But Mr. Trump is set to get all the pomp and ceremony laid on again in his honor, with another state banquet likely at Buckingham Palace. The royal family's soft power diplomacy is viewed as a way of currying favor with the president, who's known for his love of the monarchy and links to the UK through his mother, who was born on the Isle of Lewis in Scotland. It comes as the government seeks an economic deal with the US, in the hope of potentially lessening the impact of the president's tariffs. Senior Chinese underworld figure shot dead in Mafia-Style execution in Rome. A senior Chinese underworld figure has been shot dead with his partner in a Mafia-Style execution in Rome, police said. Officers in the Italian capital suspect the killing of Zhang Dayong and his companion Gong Xiaoqing is part of the long-running so-called coat hanger wars within Italy's Chinese criminal networks. The turf war is a violent struggle between Chinese criminal factions originally centered in the northern city of Prato, close to Florence, for the lucrative fashion logistics market. Dayong, 53 years old, also known as Ashing, was found dead alongside Xiaoqing, 38 years old, outside their home in the eastern Rome neighborhood of Pigneto on Monday. The couple allegedly had ties to China's infamous triad gangs, citing an Italian law enforcement agency. They were reportedly shot in the back of their heads while riding bicycles by unidentified assailants on a motorcycle. Dayong was involved in managing underground gambling, loan sharking, and enforcement operations in Rome, according to prosecutors. Investigators said he worked for Nizhong Zhang, who is on trial in Florence following an investigation into accusations he coordinated illegal operations across Italy, France, Germany, and Spain. Zhang had garnered a near monopoly in distribution of goods across much of Europe through threats and violence against Chinese company owners, anti-mafia prosecutors said. White House looking at trade deals from more than 15 countries. The White House is looking at trade deals drafted by more than 15 countries, its press secretary has said. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said some deals with countries will be announced very soon. Last week, Donald Trump delayed imposing varying tariffs on the entire world by 90 days after global markets reacted with horror. But the trade war with China continues with tariffs of up to 145% on goods going from China to the US and 125% on goods flowing the other way. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said he believes the UK will get a great agreement because of the president's affection for the country. The UK government has been hopeful of a deal to exempt the UK from Trump's tariffs, and in an interview with the website Unheard on Tuesday, Mr. Vance said he was optimistic both sides could come to a mutually beneficial agreement. "We're certainly working very hard with Keir Starmer's government. The president really loves the United Kingdom. He loved the Queen. He admires and loves the King. It is a very important relationship. And he's a businessman and has a number of important business relationships in Britain. But I think it's much deeper than that. There's a real cultural affinity. And, of course, fundamentally, America is an Anglo country, Mr. Vance said. Mr. Vance said the reciprocal relationship between the US and UK gives Britain a more advantageous position than other European countries when it comes to negotiating new trade arrangements, adding, "While we love the Germans, they are heavily dependent on exporting to the United States but are pretty tough on a lot of American businesses that would like to export into Germany." Trump tariffs to knock growth but won't cause global recession, says IMF. The ripping up of the trade rule book caused by President Trump's tariffs will slow economic growth in some countries, but not cause a global recession, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, has said. There will be notable markdowns to growth forecasts, according to the financial organization's managing director Kristalina Georgieva in her curtain-raiser speech at the IMF's spring meeting in Washington. Some nations will also see higher inflation as a result of the taxes Mr. Trump has placed on imports to the US. At the same time, the European Central Bank said it anticipated less inflation from tariffs. Earlier this month, a flat rate of 10% was placed on all imports, while additional levies from certain countries were paused for 90 days. Car parts, steel, and aluminium are, however, still subject to a 25% tax when they arrive in the US. This has meant the reboot of the global trading system, Ms. Georgieva said. Trade policy uncertainty is literally off the charts. The confusion over why nations were slapped with their specific tariffs, the stop-start nature of the taxes, and the rapid escalation of the tit-for-tat levies between the US and China sparked uncertainty and financial market turbulence. The longer uncertainty persists, the larger the cost, Ms. Georgieva cautioned. Unusual activity in currency and government debt markets as investors sold off dollars and US government debt should be taken as a warning, she added. Everyone suffers if financial conditions worsen. These challenges are being borne out from a weaker starting position as public debt levels are much higher in recent years due to spending during the COVID-19 pandemic and higher interest rates, which increased the cost of borrowing. The trade tensions are to a large extent a result of an erosion of trust, Ms. Georgieva said. This erosion, coupled with jobs moving overseas and concerns over national security and domestic production, has left us in a world where industry gets more attention than the service sector and where national interests tower over global concerns, she added. Jean-Claude Van Damme sends big kiss to Putin with ambassadorial job request. Jean-Claude Van Damme appears to have told Vladimir Putin that he wants to come to Russia as an ambassador of peace. In a bizarre video posted on Telegram by a pro-Russian journalist from Ukraine, a man purporting to be the Hollywood action hero said he would be honored to take on such a role. Addressing the Kremlin leader directly, he said, "We want to come to Russia. We'll try to do this the way you want to do this, to be an ambassador of peace." It would not be the first time the man nicknamed the Muscles from Brussels has visited Russia. In 2010, he enjoyed ringside seats alongside Putin at a mixed martial arts event in Sochi. The Belgian-born former bodybuilder shares a love of fighting with the Russian president, who is himself a judo black belt, and they are said to have known each other for years. Tiptoeing around the topic of Russia's war in Ukraine and its ongoing standoff with the West, Van Damme promised to talk only about peace, sport and happiness and not politics, before signing off the video with a big kiss for Putin. Most celebrities have turned their back on Vladimir Putin since he launched his invasion in February 2022, but a handful continue to defend him. Of those, American actor Steven Seagal is the most high-profile. The Under Siege star, who holds a Russian passport and is a frequent visitor to the country, acts as Moscow's special representative for Russian-US humanitarian ties. Scientists find strongest evidence yet of extraterrestrial life. Scientists have found what they are calling the strongest sign yet of possible life beyond our solar system after detecting the chemical footprint of gases in an alien planet's atmosphere that on Earth are only produced by living organisms. Using the James Webb Space Telescope, scientists found traces of two gases, dimethyl sulfide, DMS, and dimethyl disulfide, DMDS, on a planet named K2-18b. On Earth, those gases are generated primarily by living organisms including algae, suggesting K2-18b could be teeming with microbial life. Researchers have stressed the findings are not an announcement of the discovery of actual living organisms, but rather an indicator of a biological process. K2-18b, located about 124 light-years from Earth in the constellation Leo, is 8.6 times as massive as Earth and has a diameter about 2.6 times as large as our planet. It orbits in the habitable zone, a distance where liquid water, a key ingredient for life, can exist on a planetary surface. Neetka Madhusudhan of the University of Cambridge's Institute of Astronomy said it was a transformational moment in the search for life beyond the solar system. "We have entered the era of observational astrobiology," Professor Madhusudhan said. Earlier observations by Webb, which was launched in 2021 and became operational in 2022, had identified methane and carbon dioxide in K2-18b's atmosphere, the first time that carbon-based molecules were discovered in the atmosphere of an exoplanet in a star's habitable zone. Other scientists not involved in the study urged caution. "The rich data from K2-18b make it a tantalizing world," said Christopher Glane, principal scientist at the Space Science Division of the Southwest Research Institute in Texas. "These latest data are a valuable contribution to our understanding. Yet, we must be very careful to test the data as thoroughly as possible. I look forward to seeing additional, independent work on the data analysis starting as soon as next week."